Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show where we don't just report the news, we decode the world, we break down the power structures behind nations, we reveal the alliances shaping the 21st century, and we uncover how countries rise, how friendships evolve, and how global influence is built bolt by bolt, engine by engine, strategy by strategy. This episode is not just special, this episode is historic, because today we are talking about a shift so massive, so defining, that it changes the trajectory of India's global rise. Today we're diving deep into India's jet engine revolution, a technological leap, a diplomatic breakthrough, and a strategic turning point all rolled into one. This isn't just about machines, it's about sovereignty, it's about power projection, it's about ending decades of dependence, and it's about a partnership, India and France, that has quietly become one of the strongest, most stable, and most future-defining friendships in the modern world. Because for the first time in history, India is not just buying jet engines, India is not just servicing jet engines, India is not just assembling jet engines. India is entering the era where it will make them, where it will master them, where it will export them, where it will lead with them. This isn't evolution, this is revolution. A revolution powered by trust, by shared vision, by engineering brilliance, and by a country that has decided we will no longer wait for the world to give us wings, we'll build our own. This episode begins in Hyderabad, in the beating heart of India's rising aerospace ecosystem, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated one of the most powerful aviation facilities India has ever seen, Safran Aircraft Engine Services India, SAESI. A $150+ million mega center spread across 45,000 square meters, built for the future of global aviation, not just India, not just Asia, but the world. And this facility is not a workshop, it is not a regular hangar, it's not just another MRO center. This is the first chapter of India's jet propulsion renaissance. For decades, India had world-class airlines, but not world-class engine support. It had some of the fastest-growing aviation markets, but not the engine ecosystem to sustain it. It had fighter jets, but no control over their engines. That ends now. Because engines, unlike airframes, are the heart, the soul, the muscle, and the brain of an aircraft. They require high-temperature metallurgy, single crystal blades, composite materials, ceramic coatings, turbine engineering, precision, manufacturing, micro-component integration, combustion, chamber, perfection, safety redundancy, thermal management, high-pressure design, acoustic engineering, and technologies so advanced that only 3 to 4 nations on Earth have truly mastered them. For decades, India looked at that list and said, someday, we'll get there. Well, that someday is today. This is the moment. This is the milestone. This is the breakthrough. Because the Safran MRO Center is not just about repairing engines. It's about transferring knowledge. It's about training engineers. It's about building supply chains. It's about creating an ecosystem. It's about giving India the foundation of propulsion sovereignty. And propulsion sovereignty is national sovereignty. Because, my friends, when you control the engine, you control the sky. And when you control the sky, you control your destiny. Why does this matter for an American audience? Because propulsion independence is exactly how the US became the aerial superpower it is today. General Electric, Pratt & Whitney, Rolls-Royce in the UK, Safran in France, these giants shaped aviation dominance for decades. Their engines defined wars, global logistics, commercial aviation, and strategic influence. India is now stepping onto that same path, not as an apprentice, not as a customer, but as a partner, as a creator, as a rising power. The opening question. So today's episode asks, what happens when the world's fastest-growing major economy joins hands with one of the world's most advanced aerospace innovators to build engines that only a handful of nations can build? What happens is this: technology shift, power shift, diplomacy shift, defense shift, geopolitical shift, because the India-France partnership is not a contract. It is not a transaction. It is a strategic axis, a bond that has weathered storms, outlasted governments, and reshaped global alignments. And in this episode, we're unpacking every layer: the engineering marvel, the geopolitical transformation, the economic revolution, the defense implications, the future of propulsion technology, and India's rise as a jet engine power. This isn't an episode you watch casually. This is an episode you remember, because today you're witnessing the moment India enters the jet age of sovereignty. Before we dive deeper into the India-France partnership and the Hyderabad breakthrough, we need to step back and answer one fundamental question. Why does mastering jet engine technology matter so much? Why is it considered the holy grail of aviation supremacy? Why do only a handful of nations possess it? Why is it treated with more secrecy than nuclear technology? And why does the world watch closely? Very closely, when a rising power like India enters this arena? Because jet engines are not just complex machines. They are weapons of influence, symbols of national capability, and the foundation of air dominance. Let's break it down in a way every American aviation enthusiast will appreciate. Countries like South Korea, Turkey, Japan, Brazil, China, even advanced industrial economies can build airframes, fighters, drones, and commercial aircraft. But engines? That's where the list shrinks dramatically. We're talking about a club so elite, so exclusive, that even nations with massive defense budgets cannot enter easily. Today, only 4 nations produce top-tier jet engines: United States, GE, Pratt & Whitney; France, Safran; United Kingdom, Rolls-Royce; Russia, Saturn, Klimov. China is still struggling. Japan tried for decades and backed off. Turkey gave up and looks overseas. Korea still depends on GE. Brazil doesn't attempt it, because this isn't engineering, this is metallurgical sorcery, this is combustion mastery, this is thermal physics at the edge of science. You're running temperatures that go beyond the melting point of the metals inside the engine. And yet the engine must not melt. You're dealing with blades that spin at thousands of revolutions per minute and face stress equivalent to hanging a fully loaded Boeing 737 from the tip of one turbine blade. This isn't technology, this is art backed by decades of research, billions of dollars, and industrial ecosystems so advanced they take generations to build. If America didn't have GEF 414, F404, F110, F135, would the F-22 exist? Would the F-35 exist? Would the US Air Force dominate globally? Absolutely not. Because without engine mastery, fighter jets are just metal shells. Transport aircraft are just hollow tubes. Drones are just airframes waiting to fall from the sky. Modern air power is engine power. And engine power isn't just about flight. It's about air superiority deterrence, precision strikes logistics, global reach policy leverage, defense, export, strategic autonomy. If a country controls its engines, it controls the sky. If it controls the sky, it controls its destiny. And until now, India didn't control its destiny in the sky. India had fighter jets. India had world-class pilots. India had massive demand. India had indigenous airframes, LCA Tejas, AMCA in progress. But what it didn't have was engine sovereignty. And because of that, every jet in India's future was tied to external powers. That era is ending. India's aviation sector was like a giant with one arm tied. Massive air travel demand? Yes. Fastest growing major aviation market? Yes. Some of the best airlines in Asia? Yes. One of the biggest fighter jet needs in the world? Yes. But engine ecosystem? Non-existent. So what happened? Every time a civilian aircraft engine needed servicing, it flew to Singapore, Qatar, Dubai, France, Hong Kong. Each trip cost millions. Each trip grounded the aircraft for weeks. Each delay hurt the economy. Every time a fighter jet engine needed deeper repairs, it had to be shipped out. India had no deep engine overhaul capability, and every time India planned a future fighter jet, India had to ask, will the US give us an engine? Will Russia share the tech? Will France partner with us? This dependence limited India's defense ambitions, but that limitation ends now because Safran came in not as a vendor, not as a contractor, but as a partner. Safran isn't just another engine manufacturer, this is the company behind. LEAP engines that power Boeing 737 MAX and Airbus A320, Neo M88 engines powering Rafale fighters. Some of the most advanced turbine technologies on Earth. So when Safran decided to build one of the world's largest LEAP engine MRO facilities in Hyderabad, the world took notice. But the real story isn't the building, it's what it symbolizes. For the first time ever, India becomes a global hub for deep-level engine servicing, LEAP engine overhaul, Airbus, Boeing, narrow-body support, workforce training, technology transfer, supply chain integration. This is huge for US companies too, because LEAP engines power most of the Boeing 737 MAX fleet used by US carriers and leasing giants.